Hey, so looks like I've unintentionally made a poster boy for the channel, and it's this tank. I finished the model for this a little bit over a year ago, and the reason this tank has been popping up a lot is because, well, I used it to test a lot of chips, a lot of code and stuff, like a CIWS, which actually isn't here right now. Anyway, that one of the chips I put in this thing, the heads-up display, is basically kind of the last thing it needs. It also needs an armor model. But rather than actually finish the heads-up display, I've decided to start another project. Here is another tank I'm building. Now, this thing is also going to use the same heads-up display that thing uses. So I need to finish the heads-up display eventually, but I think this should be a nice break from all the programming. I have recorded the process of going from absolutely nothing to, well, a running tank that has a base model and a few details. Enjoy. I already know I'm going to lose massive street cred for this one, but I actually started in Blender. Not any fine modeling yet. So what this is actually a bunch of cubes. And this is really helpful for me, even if I'm not going to be modeling things in Blender, just to import it into Garry's mod and, have a silhouette, see if it's the proper size, all of that. Once I do that, I can have something to base a prop build around, or have something else to base my mesh around, which is what I ended up doing. One of my favorite things to do when modeling tanks lately is to actually model the armor plate thickness, or at least try to show the thickness of the armor plate. This is also no exception on the new E-100 clone. Now to do this, each of the plates start off life, I guess as you could say, as just a cube. I don't model in the edit mode. What I mean is change the position and rotation. I actually leave the position and rotation the same, because what I want to do is position the armor plates and actually angle them in object mode so I know the angle of the plate. When I do that, I then go into edit mode to join up the armor plates to each other, like to have them be flush and like perfectly cut. And what I ended up doing a lot was using edge slide. So if you grab anything really, but let's say the bottom edge of the upper glacis, hit G and G again, you have basically unrestricted edge sliding. And the snapping I used was either vertex or face project. Could delete those.
We delete those.
Shut up.
We lose those.
You shut your mouth right now.
It's Workup's life experience. We lose those.
The puzzle piece plate connections on very heavy German vehicles is one of their more notable features. Now, I didn't really have a great way of doing these. So the first way I went about doing this was just adding loop cuts and actually moving the vertices to snap to like the offset I want to cut into the plate. The other way I tried was using booleans. So you take a big cube and use a boolean modifier to cut out an indentation for the plate. That's fine too. However, even if you don't want good topology, you have to clean up after the boolean because it leaves these weird triangles everywhere. It doesn't help that I haven't used Blender for about a year and I'm probably just rusty at it, but didn't have a great way of doing these. I suppose I didn't really record it, but I should add that the weld seams you see here, I probably could have did this an easier way now that I think of it, but these are basically planes, or one plane that has just been extruded around with vertex snapping. Some of the gaps are like Two Spaniards are arguing in chat.
Also, is that supposed to be broccoli in the background? What is that? It's like a tree.
In the middle of the party, smoking broccoli.
That's not food, right? That's made of wood. Like you're. I'm not sure.
In the middle of the party, smoking broccoli. So you just said that.
There's a song. Workout might know it.
Say it again.
In the middle of the party, smoking broccoli.
I don't know why, but I just immediately thought of that like Frank Ocean song, but I don't think that's it. I don't think that's even close.
The song's name is just Broccoli.
That's awesome. Nah, I haven't heard that.
By Dram and Lil Yachty. Lil Yachty. It's Yachty. Sorry.
Lil Yachty.
He'd probably pronounce it the same way.
Actually, maybe I do remember that song. How old is it though?
Like
I do remember this song. Oh, someone played this, dude. Someone played this when I went to the movies to see Infinity War. We were at my friend's like apartment, and we were just playing like the worst songs like possible. And this is one of the ones that came on. It was like troll rap sessions. It was so sick.
Now both of these tanks look pretty disgusting, but I submit to you that the one on the right looks way better. So this is another thing I like to do, is sketch the details. So I used a lot of really basic primitives. I even used some cylinders, but yeah, just putting basic shapes in places. I know I want a commander's hatch here, and I know I roughly want it to look like something off of the AMX-50 Foch. The notable features, the E-100's, I suppose, coincidence rangefinder. Could be stereoscopic. I don't know. The spaced armor over the side, which I only have one plate there. Looks like this tank has the mange. And the gun mantlet, I wanted to do almost like a conical gun mantlet. The first detail I wanted to model were the E-100's wheels. And these are all made out of primitives. Now, one thing I used to help myself was to get a big prop, in this case a cylinder, and just to size out the bounds of how big I want a wheel to be. I then put fading doors and parented that prop to a gate so I can build inside of it. Now, the shape of these things is actually pretty basic. The only primitives I used were the cylinder and the tube. So, tube is just a cylinder but with a hole in it. Even for the bolts here. And actually, funny thing about the bolts is that you can get flat shading on them. Messing with the normals, you can make it appear flat, which is nice. And I did a similar thing for the tubes that had a skew on them, so they taper in or taper out. Now, in general, not just for the wheels, one thing that helped significantly was having position snapping on Fizzgun build mode. And I actually have a keybind, so there it is off, to turn position snapping on and off. And what that let me do was build details, build these wheels without having to touch precision alignment once. And I do spend a lot of time, usually with precision alignment, so this has sped up building significantly. So we have these road wheel models, which have already been prop to meshed. We got the idler model and the sprocket.
Nah, just a really, really cool bridge that's began collapsing because of severe flooding or repeated severe flooding.
Mother Nature.
Well, it's a really it's one of those bridges where it's like it's older than your country type deal, which has also got a hydroelectric plant, which is also older than your country type deal.
Just one more time, how old is it?
Older than your country. Oh my god, Russia, you fucking retards. They fucking fired a missile at the Chernobyl, the security, the enclosure building, and damaged it.
Is that good?
No, it's really bad. You're blowing up the roof of a fucking, it's designed to protect against radiation, you fucking idiots. The strike immediately preceded the Munich Security Conference in Germany, where the Vice President of the US met with Ukrainian President Zelensky. The day prior to the strike, Donald Trump announced the potential peace negotiations, following described as highly productive, proceeds to blow up the fucking Chernobyl building.
It's kinda
Like, good
funny.
job, guys.
It's kind of funny.
Fucking hell, these fucking plebs. I hate them. I hate all these people. We've had these highly productive peace talks. What's that? they blew up a fucking
They hit the Pentagon.
sarcophagus. Yeah. What's that? They hit the second tower? I don't know what that is. I didn't.
Come on, man.
I didn't invest in that shit. I don't know what that is. Quick, sell my stocks. I don't know what that is.
You told me Bush wasn't president anymore.
Oh, fuck's sake.
The last detail I did on this thing was the gun mantlet. I will admit I was looking at that gun mantlet on the Jagdpanzer E-100, the World of Tanks rendition, and I really liked that, so I wanted to do something similar for the Schmalturm turret, I suppose. So the process was very similar to the wheels, actually. The only difference is we have one of these. So using the tapered, skewed cylinders, so that they gradually slope up and up and up until you get to the base of the gun mantlet, I suppose. Actually using a torus at the end of the gun mantlet, where it allows the gun to protrude out. Now this connector over here, I suppose, I'm not really sure what to call this, technically isn't finished because I want to house a coaxial sight right here, maybe a coaxial on the other side. But this actually took a few tries. What I ended up doing was actually putting the bolts in and doing like this fake recess using slices of other cylinders, since you can change the amount of subdivisions in the cylinder.
The tweaking so hard my teeth itching is from Redline.
What the heck is Redline? Who the heck is that?
Film.
Redline?
A really good animated film.
Yo, check. Can we ban this guy?
He is black. Hashtag bannable.
Hashtag bannable? I don't really know what that means. Now, normally I leave this off to the end, but this tank actually does run. It doesn't fire its gun yet. It should be easy to add, but I would like to have ammo selecting and all that working. There is a very good reason I've been waiting to the end to make vehicles run, and that's because I kind of distract myself just from driving it around so much. Yeah, even this big slow thing with 5 horsepower per ton. So as you know, this tank is very heavy, and I like to have my tanks be physically heavy as well, a higher ratio of physical weight to parenting weight and all that. So it doesn't have that high of a ratio, but even like 14% on this thing, 21.5 tons. You need some crazy suspension to keep this thing from like bottoming out. And actually what I'm using for the suspension is my hub design. I think it's my design anyway. I've not seen anyone else come up with something similar. Even with a vehicle this heavy, the wheels ideally would be pretty hefty. There's 8 per side, and also the hubs that actually have the spring and the axis on them. Those are basically minimum weight without to stop it from spazzing. 350 kilograms each, and there are 16 of these, 8 per side. I am also gonna lose street cred for this, but I really like using applying force guns. In the year 2025, you should probably be using the ACF3 turret entities or an ACE. Wait till they add turret entities, or use a hollow parent gun, because this introduces a lot of weight into the equation. Another funny thing is actually mass center on the guns is a bit forward of the axis block. Ideally it would be over here, so you can see coordinate center. It's right on the axis block. But the ACF3 guns, for some reason, way up there. Anyway, there's a counterweight for the gun. This is just well parented to the gun, and it weighs enough to balance the gun. There's also one on the turret, because gun forward and the turret ring over here, the center of mass is going to be over here, so when the turret rotates, the tank is going to lean in the direction of the turret. So I also have a counterweight welded to the turret ring that's also really heavy. So as I mentioned before, the tank does run, however, I didn't really show setting it up. So I'm actually, the driving chip is MDC. So those chiplets, I really like them, especially because I can make some new prototypical modules, I suppose. But I wanted to make this thing gas electric as well, just like the last tank. I know the E-100 probably had a, I guess, regular manual transmission with a probably double differential or whatever. However, given that this thing would have been on the same timeline as the mouse, it would be too hard to imagine that maybe electric version of the E-100. I don't know. But in order for that to work, it is running basically my applied torque transmission, which is, I'm gonna admit, not fun to set up. I guess even for me, I mean, it's okay to set up. What I did was I just took this from the other tank. And again, this tank uses an unfinished HUD that I'm gonna work on some more as I work on the tank. Or after I work on the tank, I wanna finish the model. And the gun chip is, yeah, Starfall Apply Force. Didn't really cover too much of the functioning, is what I'm trying to say.
Man, the fact that Blender, the developers of this fucking software, conscientiously named this, like, little tab the same thing as the existing properties tab, they need to fucking go, like, evaporate themselves in a very small space.
Free to use, free to use.
Fuck off. I understand it's free, but there's no an excuse to do a shit job.
Yeah, well, that's where you're wrong. It's not even a job.
Why the fuck?
It's just volunteer work.
That doesn't matter. That's even less of an excuse.
I'm still getting hate.
Hey, Chris. Okay. You wanna play a video game? Oh, what? Okay, never mind. I take it back.
Sorry, you're frozen right now.
Lagging for anybody else.
Nah, he's getting.
I take it back. I take it back, bro.
I just gotta reset the Wi-Fi.
I don't think that should go help.
Software's over there with a fucking like rifle and shoots it.
You have an optimistic attitude. I like it. Let me just reset the Wi-Fi.
Missing.
I'm throwing myself at the gun to get the turret to rotate because I don't want to violently fizz gun it.
Yeah, but you're also like, you know, acting it out. You're role playing right now.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
The fact that you need to ask is what's wrong with it.
And that's it for this build video. Don't have too many details on this. The game is about to crash. Went from basically nothing to all of this, so I guess I couldn't focus on the details too much. So I guess that would be the next and final video on actually modeling this. Now from there is one like special thing I would like to do with this tank in particular. I guess not in particular, but I want to try on it first. I'll give you a hint. It involves this thing right here. That is basically it. So, see you around.